beautiful no matter what. So when I was young, like until I got to high school, I was this skinny, tiny, brown creature of ambiguous ancestry. And I ran around wearing the dirtiest shorts, barefoot and no shirts. My mom kept my hair cropped so short, people didn't know I was a girl most of the time. Until, I would open my mouth and yell at them because they would call me a boy. And I wasn't very tall. I was really skinny, like really skinny. And my mom would feed me in the morning, kick me out of the house, and I'd come home to bed. So I did. I lived in Mexico, and I lived in a very well-to-do part of the city. But a couple of blocks down, it wasn't as nice, and there were kids who lived in the other neighborhoods who ran around looking pretty much the way I did, and they were all boys. The girls always cleaned up or dressed and went to school. I didn't go to school if I didn't have to, because my mom, she didn't keep tabs on me. But every time I would come home, I came home to this beautiful creature, beautiful body, beautiful face. Long, dark hair, piercing dark eyes, and she was what I always envisioned a goddess would look like. You talk about goddesses, and you talk about Madonnas, and you talk about women of stature, and I would look at this woman, and I'd be like, God, she is just beautiful. I wish I looked as beautiful. I wish I could look like her. And of course, she's my mom. But she didn't raise me. I was raised by my aunt. And when I went to live with my mother, there was a detachment. She didn't treat me like her daughter, and I didn't know how to associate her with my mother. My mother was my aunt, who was really short, really skinny, really brown, of ambiguous ancestry with tight curly hair, who had a Jewish last name. My mother, had a beautiful Spanish name. Not her first name was Bertha. She did not have an ambiguous ancestry. You could tell she was half German. You could tell she was half Native American. You couldn't tell what I was. You couldn't tell what my aunt was. But I would look at her, and I would judge everything and everyone against her. I would meet a new girl at school. We'd become friends. We'd visit each other's houses. My mom was never home, so she would never see my mom. And of course, I would talk about my mom being beautiful, and she's just so gracious, and she dresses so well, and she's always wearing heels, and she wears lipstick. And she would be like, go to her house, and I'd meet her mom, and her mom looked like a mom. They did their hair, nails. After all, the 70s. They did their hair, their nails, they wore heels. But I would look at them and I would be like, yeah, my mom's more beautiful. Your mother is pretty, she's not beautiful. And I learned very early to discern the difference between pretty, cute, and beautiful. And I gotta tell you, there were times where I would look at my mom and I knew she was gorgeous. There were no shortage of men who came to the door. When I was growing up, where I was growing up, everything came to your door. Somebody who was selling sofas, they would come on, knock on your door, try to sell you a sofa. Knock on your door, try to sell you a car. Knock on your door, bicycle, a dresser, a table, a refrigerator, a house, an apartment. They all came to your door. And sometimes these guys came to our door 4, 5, 6 times in a month. And I was always the boy that answered the door. Oh. And they would say, hey, is your mom here? Nope. She's never here, guys. You saw her that one time by accident. She's never here. And of course, my mom would be yelling, who is it? Who's there? Nobody. I realized really early on that, being attractive to the opposite sex meant you would get unwanted attention. And even if my mom appreciated the attention, I really, really considered it unwanted. I didn't like it. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I didn't want to grow up to be like her after that. But you know, again, being able to discern the difference between pretty, cute, beautiful, and gorgeous stayed with me. In high school, I could tell who the girls were who, when they were little, were cute, and then grew up not to be so cute looking. They were just kind of okay. Because they kept that attitude that they were cute. And the girls who were pretty when they were younger, as they grew up and were just cute, you could tell that they had grown up being the pretty ones because they couldn't quite grasp onto the idea that they were cute. To them, it was an insult. You know, I would have taken cute any day. But they weren't very, very beautiful girls. There weren't hardly any. And gorgeous, in my school of 800 kids, there weren't any gorgeous kids. There was a teacher there who I think must have been, I don't know, she was really ancient when I was in high school. She must have been like 50, okay? And she was gorgeous. I mean, even the freshmen, the boys that would come in, they would just stare at her. And she didn't have, you know, the ample bosom. She didn't have the wide hips. She didn't wear a lot of makeup. She was just perfect. You know, the eyes were perfectly aligned in the middle of her head. Her nose wasn't crooked. Her teeth were not completely straight, but they were, you know, pretty. She was just the whole thing. She was there for a year, and she was gone. And, you know, it just stuck with me. You know, that perfect face, that perfect female, is really elusive. You know, this whole time, you know, I still have my mom over here. And I would go home after school, and I would see her, and she looked perfect. Perfect hair. Beautiful eyes. Perfect skin. No wrinkles. I mean, she's my mother. I'm in high school. She has no wrinkles. She is thin and tiny and has these perfect feet and perfect little hands. And, you know, she's just perfect. And I'm still measuring everything against her. And I kept thinking, you know, it's not possible for there to be anything more beautiful. I've seen pictures of beautiful, gorgeous women, but they exist out here, you know. They exist in this atmosphere that we call celebrity. You know, I didn't know the difference between a picture that had been altered and what a person looks like in person. To me, it was just like, you know, my mother, when she steps out of the shower and her hair is dripping wet and she's got that radio towel wrapped around her and she's got no makeup on her face and she's screaming at me and she is putting me in my place. She is just as beautiful with her face contorted and angry as those pictures that I see. Grow up, I move out of my hometown, go off to college, and I still see myself as that skinny, ambiguous, little boyish-looking girl. And I get married. I start having a life, and I keep thinking, you know, there's no. And then I had my first baby, and I didn't see her for 4 days after she was born. Both of us almost died to get to that 4th day. I gotta tell you, when they took that oxygen tent off of her and went to pick her up, I didn't let them. Like, don't touch her, don't move her. I want to pick her up first. And I'm picking this little creature up. And I'm looking at her. You know how they tell you some people have a face that only their mother could love? Right? Every single baby born on this earth has a face only a mother can love when they're born. Every single one.